So, was Bitcoin hijacked? I mean, was the world's very first decentralized money secretly captured from the inside? It is one of the biggest, most explosive questions in all of crypto, and today we are going to dive right into the evidence. Okay, let's get into it.
So where are we getting all this from? Well, our guide for this whole explainer is industry veteran Simon Dixon. He just recently dedicated a marathon live stream to untangling this very question, looking at it from every single angle, technical, geopolitical, you name it.
The heart of his investigation and what we're looking at today really just boils down to one single crucial question. Has Bitcoin's original promise, that peer-to-peer electronic cash system, been co-opted by the exact same forces it was built to get away from? Now look, Dixon's deep dive was almost 4 hours long. That's a serious commitment. So what we're going to do is distill the absolute key takeaways from his entire analysis right here, giving you the full picture in just a tiny fraction of the time. Okay, so to even understand the hijack attempts, we first have to understand the targets. What's the battleground look like? Dixon lays it out by explaining Bitcoin's unique power structure. See, this isn't some company with a CEO. It's a really delicate balance of power. Bitcoin's governance is, well, it's a revolutionary idea. It's designed specifically as a system of checks and balances so that no single group can just swoop in and take total control. So, who exactly are these groups? There are three main pillars. First up, you've got the developers. They're the architects writing the open source code. Second, you have the miners, the builders who actually secure the network and process all the transactions. And third, and this is so crucial, you have the nodes. We're talking thousands of them, run by regular people all over the world who act as the ultimate referees, enforcing the rules. If you control one, you've got some influence. But if you control all three, well, you control Bitcoin. So now that we know the targets, Dixon then pulls back the curtain on what he calls the infiltration playbook. He's identified 4 very distinct strategies that have been used over the years in attempts to grab control of the network.
And this right here, this is basically the 4-step battle plan. Think about it. It starts by trying to compromise the architects. Then you fracture the community. Then you co-opt the technology itself. And finally, you centralize who owns it. Let's break down each one.
All right, strategy number 1 was a direct assault on the developer community. Dixon points to some pretty compelling evidence of powerful figures, we're talking Jeffrey Epstein, Reid Hoffman, Peter Thiel, attempting to fund and influence key Bitcoin developers. The goal? It was simple. Get inside the architect's room and subtly change the blueprints to serve their own interests.
And you can really see how this played out over time. As early as 2011, Epstein was already trying to get access. By 2014, there were communications with Thiel allegedly talking about a destabilization campaign. And all this pressure, this influence, it boiled over and culminated in the block size war, a massive conflict that almost tore Bitcoin apart from the inside.
Which leads us perfectly into the second strategy, divide and conquer. The block size war pitted 2 fundamentally different visions for Bitcoin against each other. On one side, you had digital gold, the idea that Bitcoin should be a super secure settlement layer, like moving gold bars. On the other side was digital cash, a cheap, fast way to buy a cup of coffee. This deep ideological split, it was absolutely exploited to create a massive rift in the community.
Now, the third strategy, Dixon points out, is a little more subtle, a bit more sneaky. It's the idea of using Bitcoin's revolutionary technology as a kind of gateway drug. First, you get the whole world comfortable with digital assets. Then, you slowly pivot them towards centralized controllable alternatives like corporate stablecoins, tokenized real-world assets, and the ultimate goal, central bank digital currencies, fully government-controlled digital money.
And the final strategy? It's happening right now, all around us. It's the big Wall Street push for custody. By encouraging everyone to hold their Bitcoin through ETFs and other financial products, these large institutions are centralizing control. Suddenly, you don't hold the keys anymore. You just hold a paper IOU. It turns a permissionless asset into one that requires their permission.
So, what happened? What was the result of all these infiltration attempts? Well, according to Dixon, it plunged Bitcoin into a series of ongoing civil wars, creating these really deep fractures within the entire community. And this quote from Dixon just nails the crucial point perfectly. In these big battles for control, the side that loses always cries out that the project was hijacked. But in a way, the winners also kind of hijack a piece of it, right?
They get to steer the protocol in their preferred direction, even as the overall project keeps on going.
This table just lays it out so clearly. The block size war was that first major conflict, and it gave us Bitcoin Cash. And today, a new conflict is brewing, what Dixon calls the spam war. It's a huge debate about whether to filter out data from things like ordinals, which are basically digital art on the blockchain, and it's pitting developer factions like knots against the more established core developers.
So after laying out the battleground, the playbook, and all the fallout, Dixon finally delivers his verdict on that one central question. Were any of these attempts successful?
And there you have it. Dixon's ultimate conclusion is that no, Bitcoin was not hijacked. Its brilliant, decentralized design of checks and balances actually held up. But, and this is the big takeaway, the attempts to hijack it have never stopped, and they'll probably continue forever. The battle for Bitcoin's soul is very much ongoing.
But really, what we've just covered here is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more detail, so much more evidence, and so much more debates in the original source material. So, if this has sparked your curiosity at all, I seriously recommend going directly to the source. You can watch the full, unabridged live stream on the Simon Dixon Hard Talk live channels on YouTube, X, and Rumble. And for all the documents, the links, and the show notes he references, just head over to SimonDixon.com. It is a fascinating deep dive that will leave questioning not just the past, but the entire future of money itself.